continuing on with the chassis disassembly. Like last video, we removed the bulkhead, and it's sitting nicely over here for the meantime, and that'll be a separate body of work in terms of fixing all that up. So this is a relatively straightforward bit of work now. So for example, I've just removed the engine mount here. You can see it's just nuts and bolts stuff, nothing complicated at all. I'll be doing the same on this side here. I removed the air strap. Wiring is just feeding the wiring through, which goes then to the back of the chassis where the glove is. And then of course finishing off removing the brake lines, and again nuts and bolts. There are some pieces that are still held in by little clips like the one there and things like that, but effectively not much left. And of course we need to unscrew these ends. So what I'm planning on doing with the brake lines is keeping it together as much as possible so that I could have that replicated with new lines. So that's the idea at the moment. And so we've got things like obviously the fuel line here that's attached to this bracket, and of course more nuts and bolts to remove the transmission mounts. And everything here in the back I've already done previously, as in removing all the bits that I bolted onto the back cross member, and also the brake lines here. So we're getting there. We're getting there, so I'll just continue doing that. Continuing on with removing the brakes. A lot of these, they're held down by these little kind of what looked up to be like self-tappers. They go inside the frame. So that's holding that junction area here, and these are the ones that look like these are the ones that hold the line in various places of the chassis. So I'm collecting all those, and you can see here that this plate was obviously affixed to there, and you can see how the paint underneath really hasn't done anything. I think it's just been painted over. So whoever painted this last, just you can see here's another example of where you can see the line where it was painted. So painted again directly on top. So that's fine, just deal with it. So now pretty much I can remove the entire brake line. It's all loose over here. Anyway, I think we're almost there. Right. Kabing, kaboom. Been held up by some dodgy wiring. And that doesn't look like it's making much sense at the moment, but I'll just take it out and then put it on the floor. And there it is, all the way to the back there, where that's just above the rear diff. The one, I thought I was taking this bracket out, but then I realised when I scrubbed the dirt away that it's actually a separate bracket that gets bolted onto the cross member. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually undo the two nuts that are holding this bracket all together to remove it. Because remember, everything that's bolted on to the chassis has to be removed for it to be done properly. With the brake line removed and the engine mounts and transmission mounts removed and all that kind of stuff, the next thing is the wiring. What I'm going to do here is I want to feed the wiring right through, but I'm going to feed it with this, so that way I've actually got a way to pull the wiring through again. So that's going to come all the way through and out through here. And depending on the condition of this wiring, whether I keep it or not, we'll see. But it's just a matter of making sure that I'm not going to lose anything there. Now these things here are completely gone. So I'll just rip that up and I should be able to remove that. You can see how it's all kind of crumbling. Actually, I might just... I'll just keep that for the minute, and there we have it. And what I've done is I've just done a bit of a loop here just so that it doesn't fall in that easily. Whether or not it gets in the way when uncleaning the internal of the chassis remains to be seen, but at the very least I've got something. Now, worst case scenario, if that actually falls through, it doesn't matter. It's actually, because it's a short wheelbase, there really isn't much that can go wrong here. Just this loop here, this bit of a dog leg here is the only thing that's kind of different, but aside from that, should be relatively easy to put in. Now, just another quick look over. I've got these bolts here which I'll remove later on. Sometimes I'll leave them in there just as a bit of a reminder where they come from. So that looks pretty good, unless I'm blind and I can't see something. That's good. So now, the big items. I'm going to start removing the front first, I think. And so I'm going to use the hoist. I'm going to suspend or take the weight off the springs where they meet the shackles, and then I'll unbolt it all, continue lifting it up, and then hopefully I'll be able to move that entire axle, wheels, springs all in one hit. So I did mention in my previous video that this hoist was going to come in very handy. So that should do it now. There's a little bit of tension there, but not much. And I'll play it by ear as soon as I start undoing the... I'm going to start with the rear, and the ones I'm going to undo is just this one here. So we're looking at 13/16 here. And that's a 7/8. Because you can't see it because of the reflection. Wow, look at that. So what I was saying earlier on about how some of this is very loose, and I do not believe that that would be the end result of negligence. Well, one would hope not. Look at that wasn't even tight. Goes to show you. So, let's, out of the curiosity, I'm going to do the other one. See what that's like. Same thing. Just easily undone. Not by hand, but it certainly wasn't tight. So I might as well take those off while I'm at it. So I've got 2, 4, and 1 on each front. 6 all up.